Today we're going to be talking about every single snowmobile I have owned since I've been riding sleds, which is quite a few. Instead of you guys sitting here looking at me while I talk, because that gets honestly repetitive and boring, I will be overlaying some pictures and videos of me riding the sleds. You guys will also be able to see my riding skills go from god-awful to below average. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. So we're going to be starting today's video off with the OG, my original first snowmobile, the Yamaha Bravo. So how I got this sled was I went with my dad to work. I used to do that a lot. I used to just like go to work and hang out with him. And he hooked up his snowmobile trailer to his truck. And he said he had to go pick up a sign for work. And I was so young at the time that I didn't know any different or didn't think anything of it. I was like, yeah, sure, let's go pick up this sign. So we drive to this dude's house to pick up a sign. And also, I'm young, so like I don't think of these things. I'm like, okay, we're at this dude's house. He's selling us a sign for work, whatever. And I see this 1987 Yamaha Bravo sitting in the driveway. And I just remember like freaking out, like so excited. I was like, look at that, look at that, look at the snowmobile, this and that. I was like so excited to see this sled, not knowing that it was mine. So we walk up to this dude's house and he said the guy with the Bravo was the guy selling us a sign. And we walked up there, and shortly after that, I found out I was actually getting my first snowmobile, which was this Bravo. And we weren't actually picking up a sign. So this sled, I had it up till 2012. I don't remember the year I got it. I had this for most of my childhood. I took this sled everywhere, like I said, rode the farm fields, rode it around the house, took it on snowmobile trips, learned to trail ride on this sled. I remember the day we actually sold this sled, I couldn't even be outside when my dad sold it because I was crying so much because I just didn't want to get rid of it, but I needed a bigger sled. It was time for an upgrade. Yeah, I was super emotionally attached to this sled, and letting it go was super hard. But we ended up letting go of that sled for my next purchase, which was my 99 Indy XC SP 500. So my dad also bought me my 99 Indy XC SP 500. I had the Indy from 2012 to 2015. That was like my first big kid sled, like my first real sled. Remember when we'd go up north to like Upper Peninsula, Michigan, I would try to like mountain ride that sled. I'd try to carve it, try to climb hills, try to do like everything that like you would do on like a mountain sled. And it just never worked for me. And everyone around me, which was like grown adults, had like full-size real sleds. Like the RMKs, the Switchbacks, the Assaults. They had all those cool sleds. And there I was on my 99 Indy trying to do the things they were doing, and it just was not working out. I was outgrowing that sled too, so I got a real job at Farm Fleet, saved up my own money, and I went to go buy this RMK 600. I believe it was a 2007. And I owned that sled for 1 month. Before I give you the backstory on the 07 RMK, I have such a history for buying clapped out pieces of garbage. Every dirt bike I've owned, which has been I think 3 or 4 now, has been absolute garbage. I don't know what it is with me and buying trash things, but like I do it all the time. It never fails. It happens to me. I'm the only one that it ever happens to. But anyways, this 2007 RMK 600. I saw it for sale, and I'm not gonna lie, this sled was beat. I mean, it looked like it had a fire on one of the panels. Everything was cracked, broken. But mind you, I was making like $8.25 an hour working at Farm Fleet. We were balling on a budget at this time. So I was able to save up, I think the sled was like $3 grand. I was able to save up $3 grand working a minimum wage job over the summer to buy myself my first sled. And I was between buying an IQR or an RMK, and I ultimately chose the RMK. So we go up to this dealership to go look at this sled. It's just as beat as it looked in the pictures. But at the time, like I said, balling on a budget, minimum wage Zach, we pulled up, saw the sled, and I was like, you know what, everything on this is fixable. It's a lot of cosmetics. Let's go ahead and get the sled. So we drove up, bought the sled, took it home, and I did a bunch of stuff to like fix it up and make it look a lot nicer than we started with. Took it to my dealer for a pre-season checkup and just to inspect it because, like, you know, it's a new sled. You want to get it checked out before you take it on a trip 9 hours away. Get it checked out, get a phone call from the dealership saying this sled is absolute garbage. It is about to blow up. Everything's a hack job on it. So me being like 16 at the time maybe, I was like so disappointed. I saved up all this money. I worked so hard to get this sled, and I finally got the sled I want, and it's junk. After I found that out, my dad went ahead and called the dealership and pretty much like made them take the sled back. They took the sled back, gave me all my money back, and that was the end of that sled. Never saw it again. Don't know what happened with it. Don't know who has it. I only got one ride on that 07 600 RMK, and it was in the backyard. I think it was like October, November, and we had like maybe a couple inches of fresh snow, and I wanted to ride it. So obviously you guys know me. I'd be riding in no snow whatsoever. So I busted the sled out, took it for its first ride, got literally one rip on it, had to get rid of it. But I took the money I spent on that sled and some more money I saved up from working because I continued working, and bought my 2009 RMK 700. So I had that sled from 2015 all the way up till 2017. The guy I bought this sled from actually bought it and had it serviced at the dealership that I have all my sleds serviced at. So like it was a no-brainer to get this sled. I knew it was gonna be a good sled. My first trip on this sled was up in Peninsula, Michigan in December, and we went up there and we were taking a major risk here because there was literally no snow. When we got there, you'll see this picture. The trail literally had a dusting, maybe an inch of snow on it, and everything around it was honestly bare. Like the whole ride up, we saw no snow. Like there was a couple patches, but nothing crazy. But we took a risk on it. Never ridden the sled, mind you guys. And I took it out for his first ride at night in a few inches of snow just to see how I liked it. And I was like, all right, this is a cool sled. I like it. The only reason we went up there with those conditions was because they were calling for a major lake effect storm, and we were just taking a chance. We were like, well, hopefully it hits. If it does, we'll have amazing riding. If it doesn't, we'll just go home. So wake up next morning. Unbelievable. Never seen this much snow fall at one time in my life. Like, let me tell you, I have never seen anything like this, and I still, after this day, have yet to see this again. So my first real ride on this sled, mind you, I'm coming from like a 99 Indy XCSP to this RMK narrow, newer sled with more power, was in 3 to 4 foot of snow. Snow is literally headlight deep. And this was my first ride on this sled, and I'm trying to like manage riding down, if any of you guys know Trail 3, I'm trying to manage riding down Trail 3 in other people's trenches, because we were with 2 other people, on this sled that is so much more nimble and so much more different than anything I've ever ridden in my life. And it was the fight of my life, trying to learn this sled in those conditions and trying to not go off the sides of 3, because if you know 3, there's some drops on the sides, and if you go off, you might not be getting back up. We rode down from Calumet, I believe, down to like Toivola, and it was the longest, most miserable ride of my life. Like, you would think, like me now, like with my riding skills and my sled and everything I've learned, like I would have an absolute ball out there at those conditions. But breaking trail on a sled you've never ridden, that's completely different than anything you've ever ridden before, was unbelievably the most miserable experience I have ever had on a sled. I just remember like trying to keep it straight, trying to keep it on the trail, and then sometimes ending up so close to the edge that I'd stop and I have to pull it over so I don't go over the edge. And I honestly thought I did not like this sled. I thought I wanted to get rid of it. I was like, I can't do this. This sucks. After a while, I ended up like really enjoying that sled, and I learned a lot about backcountry riding on this sled. It has taught me so many things. It gave me so many valuable skills to backcountry riding. It was nowhere near as capable as my future sleds, but it was a good start. This was honestly the sled that probably got me into riding RMKs, was this one. Even though I didn't like it at first, after I learned to like it and learned how to ride it, it became quickly my favorite sled to ride. I had the 09 RMK all through high school. Fast forward to graduating high school, I get a job in the trades. I want to buy a newer sled. So we go to Heydays and I see this 2014 red Pro Rmk 800 for like $4 grand. This thing looked beautiful. Like, it was in great shape. Quite honestly, like amazing shape. It looked like nothing was wrong. So I brought exactly like $4 grand to Heydays, so it worked out perfectly. Bought the sled, thought nothing of it. Once again, took it home, cleaned it up. Was so excited for the season with it. Took it to my dealer for its preseason. Once again, typical Zach move, call me and say it is absolutely clapped, about to blow up, you need to dump this sled. And at this point, it's the second time this is happening with sleds. I wasn't too surprised, but I was also a little bit disappointed because once again, I liked the sled and I was excited to ride it. I didn't even get to ride this one. I actually, as soon as I found that out, I listed it on, I think it was Craigslist, and I just said in the description what the dealer said, and some guy like came, looked at it, took everything apart, inspected it, and he's like, yeah, I'll be able to fix that, and gave me the full price that I paid for the sled. And he was like paid for that knowing what it was gonna need. And he took the risk on it, and I was able to get my money back out of this one. And I took that money and went and bought my 2013 Pro Rmk 800, so a year older, same chassis, same everything. I would say this sled taught me the most about backcountry riding. When I first got this sled, yeah, I was not very good, couldn't really throw it around, couldn't wheelie it, really couldn't do much with it. But as time went on, I started to learn the sled, learn how it reacts to different inputs for me, learn how to like really maneuver and whip around the sled. Let me tell you one thing though, that sled, by the time I was done with it, so when I bought it, it was pristine, beautiful sled. By the time I was done with it, it was beat. I mean, that was a sled where I was starting to get more comfortable riding the mountain sleds. I was starting to get more comfortable with my riding, starting to try new things, get a little more risky, and that sled showed it. I ended up selling it to some kid that was a little bit younger than me at the time, and I don't know whatever happened to the sled after that, but he was super happy to get it, and I think I did talk to him once. He was watching the channel, and he said he really loved the sled, which is awesome. Love to see my old sleds go into use. Sold that sled to buy my current 2019 Pro Rmk 850. So backstory on that sled, I'm sure a lot of you guys know because I only talk about that sled on this channel, is me and my dad decided to snow check sleds together the year that the 850 came out. So we played around with the snow check, designed the sleds we wanted, and we both went and snow checked our sleds, put our deposits down, and then picked them up together. Ever since then, I'd say like once I bought that sled, my riding went to a whole new level. Like I'm nowhere near, I wouldn't say good, but like I'm getting there. Like I've learned a lot on that sled. I could do a lot with that sled. And quite honestly, that sled is pretty much what built this channel. I wouldn't have the 14,000 views I have if it wasn't for that sled, and I know that for a fact. So I am super thankful for that sled. It's taught me a lot. It's given me a following on YouTube, which is you guys, and I love you guys. And it's just a sled I truly enjoy riding. Now, obviously, some of you guys may know, I revealed it. I did snow check a new sled this year. We'll see what goes on with that. We'll see what happens to the Pro. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with her yet, so stay tuned for that. And the last sled I own, so I own two sleds right now, if you guys don't know, is I had the 2019 Pro 850. And then I also have a 2011 Switchback Assault 800. So I want to get my girlfriend into snowmobiling, and I've also kind of always had a soft spot for those Switchback Assaults. And I saw one for an extremely good deal. We drove, gave the guy cash, went and picked it up, and I've had that sled for 2 seasons now. Quite honestly, that sled does not really get ridden much. She's only ridden it a handful of times when we go on trips, or if, you know, it's home and she'll ride around the yard. I have maybe ridden it around the house once or twice. I've brought it on trips that my girlfriend doesn't go on, but it usually doesn't leave the trailer, and if it does, it'll be just to rip around the lot. I kind of feel bad for not riding it because like I do want to see what that thing could do in the deeper snow. I've just never really had the chance to get it out there. It's another sled. We will see what happens with it. I've been throwing around the idea of selling it to put the money towards my new one. But yeah, that is every single sled I've owned since I have started snowmobiling. So that's gonna be a wrap on today's video. If you guys like today's video, smash a huge thumbs up on today's video. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite sled is that I have owned. Also, if you're going to Heydays 2021, leave it in the comments below. I want to get an idea of how many of you guys are actually going to be there. Like I always say, if you guys are new here or you've been watching for a while and you're not already subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.
Rolling, drinking, smoking, that's something I do. I've been hiding all of my emotions. That's something I do. I've been rolling around.